So in the USA, February is Black History Month. In the UK, Black History Month is October. But in February, we have LGBT History Month. And this month, Guinea Pig has decided to use this time to support a charity that is doing great work for the LGBTQI community and donate a portion of our proceeds to that charity. So looking around at the different charities, the one that we chose was one called Micro Rainbow, who we're just about to go and meet. Really, really interesting. They focus on the intersection between LGBTQI and also refugees and migrants. So I'm here to meet Moud Goba, who's the national manager. And yeah, I'm really excited to share with you guys some of the fantastic work that they're doing. Hey Moud, how are you? Excellent, good to see you. So, Moud, thank you so much for meeting with me today. I know you guys are very busy, so I appreciate the time. Can you tell me a little bit about, Micro Rainbow, what you guys do? Yeah, tell us a little bit about Micro Rainbow.
Okay, thank you first of all for coming and for thinking of us, especially as LGBTQI migrants. It's sort of a subject that people don't really think about a lot. So Micro Rainbow is an organization that supports lesbian, gay, trans, queer, intersex, plus asylum seekers and refugees. And we do so through our supporting those who are homeless, our housing and homelessness support, and that is through the direct provision of safe housing. And we also do social inclusion work as well as employability and integration work.
So this is for people who are, like asylum seekers, or people who are migrant. Is it only for people who are in sort of emergency situations, or is it for anyone basically coming from another country?
It is mainly not necessarily for those who are in emergency situations. It's for LGBTQI asylum seekers and migrants and refugees as well. So it's from perhaps the start of the journey to the end until, or as people are trying to integrate into the new communities or finding employment or trying to move on or trying to engage with the community.
And why is, Micro Rainbow needed? Why is there not different organizations providing this?
Okay, so Micro Rainbow is needed mainly because I think if we go back to why people seek asylum, we'll find that just under 70 countries still criminalize homosexuality, and people are still persecuted, they're jailed, they face severe difficulty in their country if they are LGBTQI. So they flee from such conditions such as prison, such as forced marriage, and other persecutions to seek safety in the UK. And when they're in the UK, they need that support in terms of homelessness, because once they come as refugees or as asylum seekers, they continue to face challenges. They are in a safe country where you're free to be who you are, but as an asylum seeker, they face challenges as migrants, they face challenges as people from diverse backgrounds, and also within the Home Office provided accommodation within the refugee community. Because of their sexuality, sometimes they're ostracized by family, they're rejected by their communities, so they're extremely isolated. And at times, because of their sexuality, they're abused, they face homophobic abuse from other refugees in Home Office provided accommodation. So you find that they face a lot of homelessness. Sometimes they do abandon their accommodation rather than face homophobia or abuse. You find that also as they try to move on after they granted refugee status by the Home Office, it's really difficult to find jobs. They don't have UK work experience background. They need a lot of guidance to integrate.
That makes a lot of sense when you think about migrants in general. you think about communities moving over together usually, and all, you know, staying potentially in, I've heard stories of one house, but, you know, one neighborhood and supporting each other. So if you're isolated from that and then you're also a migrant, that makes a lot of sense. Wow.
That is, traditionally, that is where refugees get support. I am Zimbabwean, and you know, when I first arrived into the country, you look for the Zimbabwean community, you get a lot of technical support from other migrants, from other refugees, from the church. But if you're LGBT, sometimes you're ostracized from that space. So you literally become isolated and don't have anywhere to really turn to.
Wow, and that's where you guys step in.
Yes.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So how does Micro Rainbow use research to support the work that you're doing, to support LGBTQI asylum seekers and, you know, people in need? And do you have any sort of like interesting insights that you've discovered from research?
Yes, so actually research is why we exist in the first place. In 2013, Micro Rainbow researched the life of LGBTI people and found that it was sort of research on LGBTI people in poverty, and through this research we found that LGBTQI migrants lived in poverty, and most of them asylum seekers and refugees were facing the challenges in social exclusion and in moving on, and employability was difficult for them to find jobs, so they continued to live in poverty. So that was the first part, why in terms of we exist, because, you know, because of that piece of research. And the second part to it, in 2016, Micro Rainbow researching to find out about the housing situation of LGBTQI migrants, and that research also found that a lot of the people we worked with and LGBTI migrants and asylum seekers faced homelessness. Wow. So from that we started our housing project to provide safe housing for LGBT asylum seekers, and at the moment we now have 15 houses across the country, between London, the West Midlands and Yorkshire. That's
fantastic. What would you say then? So you know, those sound like two, although it was, you know, upsetting insights that came from that research, they were successful in that they found these statistics and these insights. What would you say are some of the challenges that you face when you're trying to conduct more research?
Okay, I'll answer that, but I'll give you one more example.
Please, we can stream it in.
I think in all our work, we have all these 3 strands of work, and researching, we found that our LGBTQI women were underrepresented in our programs. There were more men than women, and through research we actually tried to find out why are we not engaging with more asylum seeking women, and the results from that sort of helped us to really focus on women-specific work, which ended up with us employing an LGBTI housing women's officer and coordinator, and that from that research we were able to get a lot more women, almost 50% of the people who sort of reach out for support.
What were some of the reasons why there was, you know, less women?
I think it was finding, to ensure that there is space for women only. We now have, for example, a group for women that is called Sister Sister. We have a specific trans group. The challenges that gay men have and LGBT women have are different, and sometimes women need sort of safer spaces. Not to say that you know, gay men are not safe for them, but there are sometimes cultural challenges why women might not be very open where they are men, whether, you know, a gay man, straight men, whatever men, they may not share their challenges. And sometimes also for trans people, they need a space where they can talk about their specific challenges that they're going through in terms of perhaps transitioning, in terms of just day-to-day lives. And we also found that women can be hidden homeless. Their challenges are different. They can be easily exploited. they.
What does hidden homeless mean?
Hidden homeless is when, you know, maybe they're looking after someone's children because they don't have anywhere to go,
Right.
and you know they in domestic servitude, but that place is not you know, ensured for them to have accommodation. If someone doesn't need them anymore, they can easily say, you know, you can go now, and they are homeless. They're there because they just need homeless, and there's some situations where women are just staying because they need a roof over their head.
Wow.
The different challenges.
No, but that makes a lot of sense. Again, you know, it's not. This is something that. So I am one of the co-founders of Colour of Research, and we're an organisation that is trying to support and champion people of colour, of all different types of colour in the market research industry. And one of the first things you realise is that we're not all the same. The challenges that everyone faces is different. So it's very, very similar. And it doesn't mean that, you know, one is more important than the other. It just means that each needs a different approach. So that makes 100% sense to me. All right, so going back to the challenges, you know, when you're conducting this research, what are some of the problems that you come across that sort of inhibit you from being able to really dive deep into the research?
I think the first one is that we are not a research organization. So if we are to conduct a piece of research, we have to employ a research colleague to do the work for us. If not, then we have to reach out for experts or research experts to do the work for us. And the challenge of getting someone who has experience in dealing with or who has worked with LGBTQI migrants, it can be quite difficult to get such an expert. And as you know, researching is quite an expensive business, and to get really good research, and like you said, to get in deep dive into the issues and really get good quality research, that requires money, and that's not always available, and that can be a challenge as well.
Yeah, no, I can totally understand that. As a non-profit, research can be very expensive, you know? What can the research industry, everyone watching at home, well, they wouldn't be at home, they might be in the office, everyone in the research industry, what can we do to further support your work and support, you know, LGBTQI people in general? What can the research industry do?
I think while working with LGBTQI migrants, the first thing to remember when you're researching is language. Do people understand the questions that you're asking? So it's important to ensure that you have at least interpreters or translators to really ensure that you are connecting with the people you are or research participants. Then there is also the challenge of understanding people.
Yeah.
LGBTQI asylum seekers are awarded something like just less than £40 a week, and that is for their food, for the you know, clothing, for the transport. So if you're going to meet someone to research, it would be good to know that they might be living in a precarious situation, and we're able to refund their travel, at least, things like that. Or if it's a Zoom call, to just maybe ensure that they have enough data, they're not buying themselves data, and they're topping up their data. And really, most importantly, is really understanding the community, the LGBT community. If you're researching into your community, it's important to understand all the different things about the community. There are things like understanding pronouns. Some people are, you know, they're gender non-binary. Some people are queer. It's understanding those little intricate things, such as, you know, pronouns, the language, not using perhaps homophobic language, and also engaging with training. Mm-hmm. There's like, we do a lot of training in terms of like LGBTQI awareness with our partners. The research community can engage in that as well to really understand if they're researching in that field. There is no harm in having some awareness training. And also, I always advocate for employing migrants, LGBTQ migrants. Asylum seekers have got like really different backgrounds and experience, and you know, there could be some researchers in that field, so it would be good to really engage with diverse people, then your research can be really enriched and also be diverse.
No, absolutely. You're singing from the hymn sheet that I sing from as well. So this is amazing. Would you, so just touching on that a little bit, because I liked a few of the different things you just said there. So engaging in actual, educating yourself as a researcher and going and doing that training. Do you think that, any researcher should either be from the community or should have had that training as mandatory before you can even step into a piece of research for this sort of community?
I think so, to either engage with people from the community to be part of the research or to lead on the research sometimes, and also if that's not possible, at least to get training so you understand the subject you're getting into. Because if your research is how do you research something you really have no or at least some insight into that community or some understanding. If at all, it's also to not perhaps depending on how you engage with people, it can impact on the quality of research. Yeah. Say, for example, if you didn't know about the language to use and you approach people with the homophobic language, you might not know that you're offending, and that might kind of impact on how you engage with people.
Absolutely.
So it's important to kind of get that training. Yeah.
Well, also on the same topic, and I will wrap it up soon, but on the same topic, so my part in research is actually I'm not a researcher, I'm a field worker. So my job is to go and find the participants to take part in the research studies. What would you say are the challenges, or, because sometimes we'll have projects where we're trying to find people from LGBTQI backgrounds and it's quite a challenge to even find them. What would you say are some of the barriers, and what solutions could someone like me use in order to reach out to those communities and offer them, research studies that they can make some money and participate in?
I think with engaging with people is always how you approach people. Sometimes the approach is really, really important, and getting to know the people is, well, personally, I feel that, if you feel like someone is just coming to research and out they go and they don't really understand, remember how we're talking about really understanding the challenges and also explaining how what the research is going to be used for, how the information is going to be used, and what impact this kind of research might have. People are always willing to engage and always willing to help. Say, for example, you say, we're researching on LGBTQ asylum to understand this kind of challenges, and then this might be the results or might not be, but this is what we're trying to bring across, and also sharing the research with them afterwards. So usually I know that a lot of people will research or ask us for research participants, and we provide that, people get the information and then you never hear from them. So sometimes it's always good when they come back and say, we did this piece of research and these are the highlights of what we found. I think that always makes people understand where, the impact of what they have shared, or at least understand what came out of it, rather than people coming to find out and then they go. In terms of money, it's always a good incentive, especially, as I say, the people we work with, they might not have they might want to engage in that research, but they may not have the data to, especially if it's Zoom or it's a form that they're filling, or they might want to come to the space you're engaging, but they might not have the transport money to do so. Yeah. So it's always trying to understand the community first. Yeah. And we come from different privileged backgrounds. Things we take for granted might not be available to others.
Yeah, that makes sense. We actually did a project on digital exclusion recently, and it is, it's uncanny actually how many people there are who don't have access to the internet, who don't have access to a phone, who can't just jump on a Zoom call like everyone is doing, like it's nothing, So I think that's a really good point. Did you have any last things you wanted to say about Micro Rainbow, about the industry, about what people can do to help?
Of course, we always use support. You know, you came you came great with the research. You know, we always use researchers. We always use. We're happy to engage with people who can support us with their skills. People can always look through our website to see how they can help us. And one of the things I think that you noticed when you came to the office, we've got lots of duvets and plates and pots and pans. That's also how people support us with like an Amazon list. Whenever we open a new house, people gift us with different things to help the new refugees set up in the new home. So there are always different ways to help us if people come through to our website.
Absolutely. In fact, once we've shut this off, we'll get the camera and show around some of this stuff because it's really interesting. We've got loads of stuff here.
And that's thanks to the people who support us. And whenever we open a house, we take all the different things to the house. So, yeah.
That's amazing. Well, look, Moud, thank you so much for your time. And yeah, we're really, really hoping for the best for the future. And I hope that this video inspires some people at least to check you guys out and support the work you're doing.
And thank you for engaging with us. We rarely get people engaging with us in terms of trying to understand our work and research, so we appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.